This was MXIS 19 pier. Snow fell heavily, covering the ground and blurring the path ahead. She stood waiting until she grew tired and sat on the steps. Finally, car lights appeared in the distance. The car drove past, splattering a few specks of snow. She rested her head on her knees and watched the car reverse back. The door opened. Shang Ziyu Tang hurried out, squatted in front of her, and asked, "What are you doing here? I have something to discuss with you." He suddenly raised his hand, his fingertips brushing her cheek to wipe off the snow splashed on her face. His fingers were warm. She wanted to lean closer but felt ashamed. He pulled his hand back. "Let's go inside first." Nizi followed him inside but stopped at the door. "Here is fine." He did not push her. Took off his coat and draped it over her. "What is it? Speak." "My family went bankrupt." "I know," he said. It was freezing cold, numbing her mind. She thought she would not be able to say it, but when the moment came, she spoke smoothly. "Teacher Shan, if I sell myself to you, will you help my family?" He did not answer immediately, taking a breath as if shocked by her words. The wind blew sharply, snowflakes stinging her face like slaps. Nizi lowered her head, not daring to look at his expression, afraid he would laugh at her. "Look down on her." "After a long while?" he asked. "Did Ni Yuandang send you?" His tone sounded angry. Nizi was about to deny it when he said, "Don't lie to me. If I don't come, he'll divorce Mom." All her prepared lies vanished. She spoke as if talking about someone else, stammering. "Mom's in poor health. She's been resting. She loves Dad so much. If they divorce, she won't be able to take it." The air was cold, freezing her to the bone when she breathed in. She forgot what she was going to say next and heard him say, "Stop talking. Don't cry." Only then did she realize she was crying. It was so embarrassing. She quickly tried to wipe her tears but could not. He sighed. "Have you made up your mind?" When she nodded, he said, "Sigh. Never took Ni Yuandang for someone like this. Let me be clear. I can help you. But don't try to make a move on me." Ms. E did not understand at first. When she did, she almost jumped up. "I wouldn't." But he smiled. "Good to know. Honestly, Student Ni, I prefer women with bigger breasts." 6. That was the kind of person he was. Never serious with his words, but always true to his word. The Ni family company was pulled back from the brink of bankruptcy. Many people envied them, whispering that the Ni family had good sense, clinging to Shang Ziyu Tang by offering their daughter. Shang Ziyu Tang helped her family but never touched her. When he saw her, he would say, "Student Me, here to mooch off me again." During summer vacation, she still hung around his place. He used to travel often, half a year domestically and half abroad. But this year was different. He stayed home most of the time. She had unrealistic hopes and asked him indirectly, "Is it for me?" He answered bluntly, "Yes." Before Nizi could feel happy, he added, "Afraid you leave me out of house and home." Nizi was lazy but had pride. For the next week, she did not go to see him at all. Summer days were long, bright and clear, with neon lights spreading lazily. She leaned on the windowsill when her phone vibrated. A package had arrived, and she made a design for it downstairs. She lazily slipped on her slippers and went down, freezing at the door. Shang Ziyu Tang was standing there, holding a bouquet of flowers. He raised an eyebrow at the sight of her and teased, "Just got up." Nizi wished she could turn back time. If only to avoid appearing like this in front of him. It seemed she was always flustered around him, never dressed or feeling right. She tried to act calm. "What are you doing here?" "A festival's coming up. Brought you a gift." The nearest festival was QIXI. She was delighted but pretended not to understand. "What festival?" "Harmy Day." Nice rolled her eyes and turned to leave. He grabbed her, the flowers falling into her arms, and she fell into his. Distant sunset glow blended into the cobalt-blue sky. like sunflowers blooming on a glass lake. Her heart raced, her face burning. Peter sang. He heard her own voice, sweet and sticky like honey. Did you miss me? It was a bold thing to say. She felt utterly embarrassed afterward and lowered her head, thinking it would be okay if he mocked her anyway. She did not finish the thought. Because he said, since you figured it out, I have to admit it. He admitted it. Nizi almost jumped up, but he held her down. Happy now? She said, reserved lie. Just okay. Looks like I'm the only one really happy, he said. Every time I see you, I'm in a good mood. He waited for her reply but heard nothing. He looked down and saw she was crying, tears streaming down her face. Why are you crying? Did my confession scare you? She sobbed. Teacher Shang, I thought I was just being delusional. She loved him. She got mad whenever she saw him, yet missed him terribly when she did not. Crying alone, until she could bear it no longer. She had sold herself to him, even if he did not want her. She owed him for saving her family. She walked on eggshells around him, wanting his love yet fearing his closeness. Love mixed with money was no longer pure. But her heart had beat in deafening lie for him since she was 16, and it turned out he loved her too. She cried too hard to speak, then suddenly lifted her head and kissed him fiercely. He could not dodge in time, their teeth clashed loudly. He hissed in pain. She apologized sheepishly. Sorry, I got too excited. And learn to do it properly, he said, holding her face. Student Lu, I expect you to learn by example. His kiss fell, light as a feather, heavy as a lifetime promise. Rich or poor, how lucky must one be in life to receive a kiss from the one they love. 7 Nizi stayed with Zhang Zuyu Oteng for 8 years. For the most part, they lived in harmony. Even her father spoke to her candidly. Where for him you think I meant you harm? What father doesn't love his daughter? Stay with him, and you'll live a life of luxury. Look at what you wear, what you use, he gave you everything. Nizi did not answer, staring down at the bracelet on her wrist. Zhang Ziyu Oteng had given it to her when she was 16. Even with careful care, the carnelian had dulled over time. Her father rambled on, talking about his devotion to the family and how Nizi took her good fortune for granted. Nizi did not interrupt. When he finished, she said flatly, what if he marries someone else? Her father was stuck for words. After a long while, he said, you've been together so long. Has he thought about marrying you? Nizi could not help but laugh. She had grown up. The beautiful features that had charmed others at 16 were now in full bloom, stunningly gorgeous. Perhaps that face had fooled her father. But, she said, I have my dignity, even if you don't. Niu Ondeng, aren't you being decalculating? Niu Ondeng was her father's given name. He froze, then flew into a rage. Nizi stood up and walked out gracefully. Her father chased after her, apparently intending to slap her, but a car pulled up outside. He stopped short, his face lighting up. Zhou Tang, your ear? Zhang Ziyu Oteng sat in the car and smiled. Came to pick him Ina see home. Her father said, you're busy with work. Don't spoil her too much. She's young, him afraid she'll leave me for someone younger. He glanced pointedly at Nizi. Nizi loved looking good and wore a thin cashmere coat. Beautiful but not warm. She shivered as they chatted. Zhang Zhou Oteng put his arm around her. Well, be off. Then, her father nodded repeatedly. After getting in the car, Nizi looked back. In the cold wind, her father still stood there, his hair messy, looking pathetic. She suddenly felt a pang in her nose. Zhang Ziyu Oteng beside her asked, soft minus-hearted now? She hummed in agreement, but added, still not forgetting him. Then don't cry. Nizi had not intended to cry, but his words made tears flow. He handed her a tissue. So upset. Being with me is that miserable. She only said, you wouldn't understand. And he did not. When Nizi was 20-6, Zhang Ziyu Oteng's career reached another peak. He brought Nizi to the annual gala. Champagne, fireworks, tears. They raised their glasses together under Evryona's gaze. Nizi looked at him. Years later, he was still handsome. Sensing her stare, he suddenly winked at her. Nizi laughed. He squeezed her hand under the table. Their little secret. Midway through the banquet, Nizi went to the restroom to touch up her makeup and overheard people whispering. President Shang has been with Miss Ni for years. Why won't they marry? Another voice said, don't tell anyone. But we all know privately. Miss Ni is just his lover, a fling. He'll marry someone of equal standing for real. He laughed, finding such wealthy gossip amusing. Nizi took a tissue and slowly dried the water off her hands. When she walked out, Shen Ziwoteng was looking for her. He pulled her into his arms as soon as he saw her. A business partner joked, President Shang is restless without Miss Ni. Shang Ziwoteng said seriously, without my backbone, how could I not be restless? The banquet ended on a high note. On the way back, Shang Ziwoteng had drunk too much. He leaned his head on her shoulder and fell asleep, still holding her hand tightly. Nizi tried to pull away, but he did not open his eyes and mumbled, A-C. She smiled softly, but the smile did not reach her eyes. Like a butterfly, it scattered in the sincere, cold daylight. During that time, Nizi became obsessed with buying rings, wanting to cover all 10 fingers except her ring finger. One night, she woke with a start. He was not beside her, he was standing on the terrace smoking. Nizi watched him. Moonlight fell like transparent snow. He stared into the distance, lost in thought. Nizi called softly, what are you doing? Did I wake you? He put out his cigarette and came back to hold her. I was thinking about something. About what? He held her hand, gently rubbing her ring finger. After a long while, he whispered, I might not be able to marry you anytime soon. Nizi froze, her breath catching. She looked at him in shock, unable to speak. He squeezed her hand tighter and comforted her. This doesn't mean I don't love you. Teacher Shang. She interrupted him. How did you know? You were having a nightmare, he said. Gentle and soft. A-C, don't cry. Nizi belatedly raised her hand and felt tears at the corners of her eyes. Why? He did not answer, kissing her forehead. I'll tell you later. Okay? She said okay. He held her tightly as if she were a naughty child. But she was no longer a child. She had grown up with countless secrets, learning to hide them. Yet crying secretly in her dreams. Ashamed, she buried her face in his chest, hiding her thoughts away too. The end of 20-6 passed, and 20-7 came. She moved out of Shang Ziwoteng's place, went to Saigon, and settled by the river. Looking back on 8 years, time had flown. The little girl had grown greedier, and when her wishes could not be fulfilled, she had no choice but to leave. She never expected that when they met again, he would hand her a wedding invitation, so he could marry, just not her. Nizi saw the light. If she had not cared so much about her looks, she might have become a nun. She refused to lose face, even in defeat. She rummaged through her suitcase and picked out her most beautiful dress, planning to make a stunning appearance at Shang Ziwoteng's wedding. But life had other plans. Southeast Asia entered the rainy season that week, with thunder and lightning, and her flight was delayed for 40 hours. Nizi slept soundly on the plane. When she landed, there was no time to go to the hotel and get ready. She did a quick makeup touch minus up at the airport. When she arrived at the hotel, someone asked her, Miss Ni, Mr. Shang asked me to take you up. Nizi was led to a dressing room. The attendant asked again, would you like something to eat? The ceremony will be tiring. Nizi was confused. Do guests have to participate in modern weddings? Someone nearby chimed in. You didn't give a red envelope. You think you can get away without helping? Nizi turned and saw Shang Ziwoteng walk in. He usually dressed casually, but today he wore a rare 3-piece suit with a rose in his breast pocket. Nizi got annoyed just hearing his voice. She opened her clutch, rummaged around, and pulled out 2 coins. Here, wedding gift. He did not take them. Nizi placed the coins on the table. Why did you bring me here? I have something for you. He pushed a small red envelope toward her. I promised you a red envelope back then. After all these years, I'm finally making good on it. Nizi bit her lip and opened the envelope quickly. A contract fell out, a prenuptial agreement. The terms were simple. If Nizi ever divorced Shang Yu Tang in the future, she would be entitled to 70% of his assets. Nizi was stunned. After a long while, she found her voice. We're not even married. Why talk about divorce? Just planning ahead, he said, pulling out a ring. Miss Ni, will you marry me? Nizi thought she had misheard, but she had not. The ring sparkled brightly under the lights, beautiful as a star. She hesitantly held out her hand, looked at him, and said quietly after a long time, no. He was surprised. Why? Mr. Shang, she said, please give me a reasonable explanation. He put the ring away and said, sit over a bit. There was only one long bench in the dressing room. Nizi did not move, but he squeezed in anyway. Reluctantly, she shifted half her hip, sitting shoulder to shoulder with him. He spoke in a calm tone. I didn't want to tell you this originally. It would have hurt you. I couldn't marry you because of some financial disputes between your father and me. Simply put, he owes me a lot of money. If I married you, he wouldn't have to pay it back. Nizi opened her mouth to speak, but he cut her off. I know what you're going to say. Money isn't that important. But A-C. Think, hasn't he treated you and your mother much better these years? Her father had been a playboy, rarely home when she was young, and domineering when he was, ordering her mother around like a servant. Nizi had disliked him for a long time, but she could not change him, nor could she change her mother's love for him, watching her waste away in that helpless affection. But later, her father had changed. He came home often, and was thoughtful and caring toward her mother. Nizi had thought he had mellowed with age, a reformed playboy. But thinking back, she murmured, he only changed after I got together with you. Shang Yu Tang smiled faintly. Ni Yuan Deng, your father is not a good man. We both know that. These years we've been in business together, making good money, without some restraint. I think Chia still got a wandering eye. He would have made your mother sick sooner or later. Nizi could not help nodding, fully agreeing with his judgment of her father. I was careless about your feelings. I thought you were young and wouldn't want to marry too early. By the time I realized, you were already angry with me. This past year, I've been sorting out these matters, also giving you space to think things through. Nizi said, there's nothing for me to think through. You met me when you were 16. I was already in my 20s, an adult. He said suddenly, our relationship was unequal. You never had any other romantic experiences. If we'd been the same age, you might not have loved me. His voice was uncharacteristically low, so this man too had moments of insecurity in love. Nizi looked at him as if seeing him for the first time. The invitation. No names on it, he said. But if you're willing, we can print yours and mine on it right away. He thought for a moment and added, your name first. Nizi laughed in exasperation. Like I care. She stood up and stormed toward the door, then stopped and turned back. He was still sitting there. The lights were bright, white as daylight. Half his face hidden in shadow, he suddenly raised his hand and carefully put the ring back in its case. At that moment, he was so handsome, so powerful and yet so lonely, so sad. Nizi could not hold back any longer. She strode back, snatched the ring, and put it on her finger fiercely. Shang Yu Tang, she said loudly. I'll marry you, but the prenuptial agreement changes. If you divorce me, you leave with nothing. Okay, he said. If you treat me badly, you also leave with nothing. Okay. And if you... She could not finish, because he had already kissed her. The lights dimmed, the roses slept. All the storms and snows of this life boiled at night, frozen at dawn. Love says one thing but means another. But love should never be missed.